you're non-physical beings and you're guiding all of us. Why?
Because there is no separation between that which we are and that which you are. We are not different from you. So we have interest in the exploration part of ourselves that you are. So you're exploring and defining new horizons and carving out new intentions that then we have the thrill of following and focusing upon. It's like a team of deliberate creators who are evolving eternally together. So you said, I'll go into the contrast and I'll get specific about it and personal with it. And within me, from my vantage point, from my physical perceiving, will be born desires and intentions. And as those desires and intentions get some vibrational momentum going, then source within me will join, in essence, like bringing in the big guns. The non-physical energy joins with knowing. You have never, ever, ever been separate from that which we are. So what your question just said is, why have I joined I? Why has me joined me?
Yeah. But why give us the direction? Your joy, you're enjoying this through us?
We're not giving you any direction. Your desire is deciding the direction, because we know how the laws of the universe work. And when you don't know and you're asking, then we answer. In other words, there isn't anything that ever happens that doesn't come from an asking. And so there's no assertion. None of us are sitting around with our feet dangling over clouds saying they need to know this and they need to know this. Who's willing to go and be the emissary that will tell them what they need to know? There isn't anything like that going on. It's that when you ask, the cooperative components assemble to help you come to the full fruition of what you're asking for. So we are just part of that process. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So blessed.
Something more?
You tell me. You tell me, really. Can I give a little anecdote? My husband said that I would be called up and said to go to the back of the room because I was lowering the vibrations. And then Esther would say, as a matter of fact, why don't you just leave because you're just destroying everything. So anyway, that was my anecdote. But please tell me what you think.
The primary message that we are offering, of all of the things that we can feel you all asking for, that we want to convey to you in as many ways as required before you really get it, is that your guidance comes forth from within, and the fewer others outside of you that you listen to, the more satisfaction factor you will have, the more likelihood you will have of being a blend to your own desire. And it's not easy from your physical format, because you were born into an environment with parents who had sort of forgotten that. You were born into environments of people that are looking at the manifestation rather than feeling the energy. Esther has been so aware recently of what any mix of individuals accomplishes in terms of her satisfaction factor. And what she has determined is that it doesn't matter what the mix is. If it's just Esther and you visiting, or if it's Esther and a handful of you visiting, Esther does not want your mix to matter at all to her. She wants to be so mixed in with source energy that the mix that she brings to the room is so clear and loving and knowing of well-being that anything else will sort of just bounce out of it, you see. And so you don't need to be the orchestrator of law of attraction. Law of attraction is sorting all of that out. But you do have the ability, by paying a little bit of attention to the things that you're thinking about, and by caring about the way you feel, so that not just when you enter a room and you want to be clear about what you're offering to the room, but long before you got to that room, every moment of every day, you want to be thinking about, at least to some degree, what kind of blending you've got going on with your inner being. All is really well with you. You have a powerful intent that amounts to a very strong calling power. You know what we mean? As we look into a room of individual creators, especially in the beginning of something like this, your energies are more individually evident. And what those energies are The reason that they exist and the reason that we can see them or perceive them is because your desire factor, how much you want something, causes strong energy to be flowing to you. But if you've got a strong desire and you're doubtful, then while the energy flows to you, it doesn't flow through you. And so there's a sort of blockage or stoppage that causes a sort of static in your energy field. That is not present in you. In other words, you're summoning and allowing far more than you are giving yourself credit for. So just relax and hear what goes on the rest of the day, and you'll come to full understanding of who you are, how you fit into this, and how much well-being is accompanying you through your day.
Could you speak to the interplay between choice and destiny?
All that you call destiny is choice. What feels like destiny are the incremental choices that you made by knowing what you do want and knowing what you don't want, and throwing them individually into your vortex. We'll talk about that in case you don't know about the vortex. But if you don't know about it, where have you been? When you get a whiff of your vortex, it feels like destiny because it's calling you in such a strong way. But the destiny in this conversation was made up of individual choices that you were making. And then we must speak to choices that you've made even before you came into this physical experience that don't vary at all vibrationally from who you are and the desires that you are determining now. But it feels to you like a calling, and that's why you call it destiny. Esther was talking to a friend about that yesterday, that sometimes there's just a feeling that is so strong and it cannot be denied. And if you feel it and you turn from it to do something else instead, sometimes you start feeling a sort of paralyzation. In other words, you cannot not go in the direction of this powerful calling and be satisfied. But that requires a little trust. That's why we explain it to you in this way. You were non-physical energy before you came into this physical body. Yes. And here you are in this physical body. Yay. And the non-physical part of you is still non-physically focused and flowing to you and through you all the time, but non-physically focused. So here you are with your physical perspective, sifting and sorting, knowing what you don't want, knowing what you do want, and asking continually for this and that. And so these rockets of desires are going forth into this vibrational reality that we have named the vortex, because we wanted you to feel the reality of it, even though you cannot yet see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it. It's the vibrational version of all that you have become. And your inner being stands there strong and benefited by the choices that you've been making as you've been sifting and sorting. So this non-physical part of you now is standing there in all of that clarity and all of that knowing, and no doubt, no lackful anything, all things wanted, because you sifted it out one experience at a time. And now, because your inner being is there, and most important, because law of attraction is responding to this entity called you and your non-physical inner being and all that you've asked for, as law of attraction is responding to that, cooperative components are being called to it. And you, who have the most vibrational, we'll call it DNA, it's wrong terminology, but the most vibrational hooking to it, because you created it. There is nothing in all of the universe that this cooperative, you are the most desired cooperative component. Let's put it that way. Your inner being is most desirous of you being a cooperative component to your own creation. And that's why it feels like such a powerful calling. And that's why you feel such satisfaction when you have any thought that moves you toward it. And it's why you feel an uneasy tugging when you have any thought that takes you from it. So if you have thoughts like, I can't do that, or I'm not ready for that, or I'm not worthy of that, or there's injustice or unfairness, if you go contrary to any of the knowledge that you have come to through all that you have lived, then you aren't moving in the direction of your destiny. And the reason that the word destiny is a good word is because can you feel the inevitability of it, the absoluteness of it? In other words, this is destiny. This is certain. This is who you are. We just don't think you should have to croak to get there. We think that you have the ability to pay attention to how you feel and to thought by thought allow yourself to be called by this powerful law of attraction that is calling you and all of the cooperative components there. How many what you call synchronistic things, or maybe even coincidental things happen. And you marvel at the oddness of that coincidence when we revel in the sureness of the attraction. So much is going on, and as you pay attention, as you notice the cooperative components of which you are a part, and you revel in them no matter how large or small they feel. Esther and her family were on their way to have breakfast somewhere over the holidays, and when they got there, friends that they had been thinking about and wishing to be with met them accidentally in the parking lot. Not coincidental. Energy had been flowing, and the orchestration was taking place, and each of them was inspired to be at that place at that time for the rendezvous that non-physical is orchestrating for you all day, every day. And then another event and another event and another event and another event, until in time you begin to understand that your destiny's got you. Your destiny has you, you see. Your destiny made up of individual choices. But you got to make the choice to want to feel good to even be anywhere near it. Is destiny a word like God that we can never speak to you again? Don't mess up the idea of destiny. Let it be your long-term intentionality that you're adding to every day of choices. Destiny couldn't exist if it were not for choices. And destiny couldn't be discovered, or you couldn't find your way to it if it weren't for the choice of wanting to feel good. There's no destiny that you have to think those thoughts. You have choices, free will in every thought that you think. But ultimately, you'll end up in a really good feeling place for a minute, for a little while, because you'll jump right back in with both feet into more choosing, because choosing is what's necessary for eternity. Very good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.